Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music and Musicians. Today we have our resident guest, a very wonderful lady. She has points zake was in a flow, kweli kweli. And then she loves poetry, she loves music, and she practices all that we are saying and all that we are learning about. So karibu, Madam Elizabeth.
Thank you.
I don't know if there is any more need of you introducing yourself, but
You've said it all.
you can say what has changed.
Not really. There is nothing that has changed. The same Elizabeth. Poetry, individual.
A musician.
A musician.
A very good alto.
Yeah.
Yes, and a teacher.
Thank you. And a teacher by profession.
Yes. How is teaching taking you so far that you are starting the term? It's second term. I think it's the longest term.
The longest.
Yes.
Teaching is nice. We are coping up well with the learners. After the holiday, they go and forget everything. But on coming back, at least you give them a recap of what they have learned.
Okay.
So it's well.
Yes. So I know you teach them literature and poetry.
Yes.
Yes. Tell us something about poetry.
Okay, so when we're talking about poetry, we are actually talking about how literally works over several individuals. We have the African poets, the American poets, and we're talking about how are they expressing their ideas. Yeah, what are some of the feelings that they are bringing up? What are some of the stories? What is actually it? I can give you my full life story, but in a poetic form.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell us something about the African poetry, because you have mentioned it, and I'm like, what is African poetry?
Oh wow. African poetry, we're looking at poets who come from Africa. Some of them are writers of books. You can look at Margaret Ogola, for example. I'm sure you read that book, The River
and the Source.
The River and the Source. You have Ngugi wa Thiong'o, what was it called? The River Between. Yes. Such people, you find that they are trying to write a story, and then in the process of writing that story, they are putting in some 2 or 3 works in poetry form or even in song. Yes. So it is another way of actually expressing a different kind of feeling or a different kind of emotion through the poetry, maybe in their literary works. Yes.
So let's go historical. Before this formal education, the Western culture, was there poetry in Africa?
Yeah. Yes, it was, but in the local languages, in the local dialects.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking, for example, Chinua Achebe or Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Ngugi wa Thiong'o was a Kikuyu writer and a poet, so he could write the poems in Kikuyu language. So some words in your local language, it's easily understandable. But afterwards, when Western education came, that is when they now began learning. Oh, okay, so now I can give this message, or I can deliver this story of mine to more people, not only in my community, even in my country or outside my country. So I think it was there, but in the local languages.
Now let me ask you, I know you write poems. What is in your mind when you're writing these poems, and who is your audience? Or what are you thinking at when you're writing poems?
Personally, when I'm writing this poem, at times you're maybe filled up with some stress. Yes. You're maybe kuna kitu tu unaweza kuwa unafikiria, unasema hapana, hii kuliko niwe na kichwa, the only way I can do it is write it down. So unachukua tu kitabu kama karatasi. At times by the you can always find me with a notebook. Naandika tu, na scribble tu kitu fulani, maybe 1 or 2 stanzas naachia hapo. Maybe I'm thinking outside the box, or I want to go and deliver something, I want to go and talk to a person. Instead of maybe writing down the points, I can write it in a poetic manner. Yes. So that way ninajua hata the audience yenye itakuja kunisikiza au yenye itakuja kusoma my work, they can maybe watakuwa wanajiweka in my shoes, what was actually going on in the mind of this lady when she was doing this. There is a time I just sat down and I just decided, nikachukuanga tu simu nikeka hapo nikasema this mananasi looks very well. Why don't I talk about this mananasi? Yes. And I think
mananasi ni pineapple.
Yes, mananasi is a pineapple. It is growing in the Gusii land. If you don't know, it's very sweet. Yes, and you just describe it the way it is. Yani unajiweka ni kama ni wewe ndio hiyo pineapple. You know? So when I'm trying to express my feelings, when I'm trying to express my ideas, I'm trying to put myself in those shoes. Also when I teach my learners, mimi huambia turn to your desk mate, ebu mwambie ikalamu, describe that biro in 4 lines. And you just put your sweet words there, unaweka hapo mpaka mwenye unamwambia ako like, oh okay, kumbe wewe ndo kalamu ama hii ndo kalamu. So yes.
And do you know that sometimes whatever you write in poetry, we don't understand. Is poetry for the educated and the sharp people?
No.
Because there's, even I've also read some poems. And I'm trying to figure out what was this person saying. I have to jog my mind. So that is why I'm asking, is it made for educated people?
Not really. Well, when you're reading a poetic work, unajua hizo zinakuanga na so many different messages, and then your understanding is different from the understanding ya ule mwenye ameandika. Kenye kilikuwa kwa akili yake si yenye kwa akili yako. So you are two different entities thinking totally different things. So wewe wenye uta interpret itakuwa tofauti. So it doesn't mean that it is going to be for the educated. If at all you are going to mean the educated, inamaanisha that person lazima ajue styles zenye zilitumika kuandika hiyo. What are the features zenye huyu poet exactly ni gani specifically alikuwa anatumia. Hiyo ni educated, hiyo ni mwenye anataka sasa kujua more about poet, au mwenye anataka kucritique. Yeah, you know, some people love critiquing, anasema hapana, the shape of this iko kwa hivi, iko inafaa iko hivi. So they can critique your work and against your work. That is for, I can say it is for the educated. But the normal sisi watu wa kawaida, you're just getting the actual message. Unainterpret venye unataka, wewe mwenyewe unajaribu kujiweka into the shoes of that person, the poet mwenye alikuwa anaandika. Yes.
Okay, so tell us something about poetry and music.
Wow. Poetry, when tukiongea maneno ya poetry, we are actually talking about literary forms which bring about the feelings, the ideas. When you go to music, music is all about presenting those ideas in a more rhythmic way. Unajua poetry unaweza kuwa unaongea, or the language there when you're speaking about poetry is somehow different from music, but it is still the same, because a poem can be a song. And I can easily derive a song to be a poem. Now what is different there is maybe I can change maybe some few words. Maybe I can bring some rhyming words. I can try to present some repetition. In the music, nikiangalia, we have repetition maybe once. That is for the chorus, right? And several stanzas. Sasa unaangalia hata kwa poetry na kwa music sisi wote ni stanzas. Yeah. So while in a poetry, on the other side is I can have several lines that are being repeated. But one thing is that these two, they are very similar. such that for the music and poetry, they both bring out a certain message. They both present the feeling either of that singer mwenye anaimba or the one who wrote that poem. Yeah. So the feeling is presented. There is some rhyme in both. Yes. But okay, most people always say that poetry is hard. You being one of them.
Yeah, it is true, because for me to get your feeling, whatever you're meaning in this poem, I have to think. I have to take my time. But for music, if it is good, it hits the heart.
It depends on how this person sang.
Yes, and the expressions, the notes, let's say the notes that are in that music. But for poem, I have to read. I have to take my time.
Yes.
So it is not easy to get. Or I have to listen to what you're saying, then I think. But for music, I don't have to think. I can just tell that music is good.
Yeah, it's not your cup of tea, but it's normal. You're not the only one. I know there are so many viewers there who will agree with that. Even our cameraman, I'm sure he's also one. When you were in school, you were like, teacher, what are you saying? Can you come again? When they were talking about what is the mood of the poem, you're like, the mood, it is only happy and sad. That is what is the tone. But those are the different things. Those are the styles that we use to write the poems.
Okay, so tell us about structure, the structure of poems. Is it always the same, or there are different ways of structuring your poem?
They're different. It depends with the poet. There are those who will, for example, one who's writing about a story, they can easily write a very long poem, which maybe does not have any stanza, or it just has one stanza, and several lines. But the way he or she is writing that is different from one who's trying to express maybe to one maybe that he or she is loving, or bringing out a very simple message. Those ones you can find it is some 2, 3, 4 stanzas at most. And more especially the Western poems, I will say some of them are quite long. Yes, I have the poems for West Africa. Yes, some of them are very short. A poem can also have just one stanza. Yeah, that is the difference between poetry and music. A poem can be very, very short, because what are you talking about? I can be talking about a child. So what am I talking about this child? So the way I'm going to say it, I'm not going to give the whole narration of this child was born, this child was playing, this child. No. I can maybe just describing, so this is the child. So how does he look? Okay, so he's tall, he's handsome. But the way you're writing it, it is in a way that you're actually capturing the attention of the one who's reading that poem, or you're actually bringing that person who is reading into feeling, oh, okay, I would love to really be this child, So depending on that type of poem that you're writing. Okay. Yes, those that are very long, those that are very short. Yes.
Usually poems are very serious. They're expressing something very serious. Do you have poems that are jokes?
Okay, you're the person to say they are very serious.
Yes, they are very serious.
What is the definition of serious?
Serious is something that you have, like you are just expressing something that is serious. I have to think about it. But now I want a situation where we have a poem that is just jokes. Even once I read it, I'll just tell this person is a joke.
Yeah, there are poems that are like that. I can just be sitting and you are laughing, and yet I'm just scribbling something. Lakini wewe una habari. Lakini sisi tunacheka tu. So maybe whatever you are saying, kidogo nimeiandika chini, and then I'm going to maybe wind up the way I'm going to wind up. Lakini some of them are jokes, but the seriousness in poetry comes when we're talking about how are you writing, the language that you're using. Kitu moja sisi hatuangalengi punctuation. There is a line unaweza andika with ellipses. There is another line you're going to write with just a comma. Lakini wewe mwenye unasoma uko like, mbona kulikuwa na comma hapa? Singekuwa tu full stop. Unaona? So that is now, maybe hapo ndo unaweza sema huyu mtu yenyewe ni kama ako serious. Because the way he or she is writing, kuna ka message fulani they are trying to deliver yenye mimi I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to understand no matter what I do. Yeah, so yeah, we are serious. There are those who are jokers. It depends. Maybe I can be writing romantic poems. I can be writing education poems. I can be writing poems that are trying to talk about politics. So it also depends with what exactly are you speaking about, what exactly are you talking about, or what are you going to write about.
Okay, so tell us the differences between poetry and music. Like what are the differences?
Number one, I will start from where I just stopped. Language. When you look at poetry, the way we are writing, punctuation marks we are not following. And our lines are, some are very long, some are very short compared to the stanzas in songs. I can say that some of the songs you find that, or rather all the songs, the sentences there, the lines in each stanzas, they at least have to be the same, so that when you are going to sing, you don't have a place where the rhythm goes way beyond. Unlike poetry. As for us, even if you're going to present, there is a place you can talk, and another one you can just say one or two words. Yes. So that is one. And look at the form. Look at the structure of poetry. The form of poetry or the structure is generally very short. For those that are long, it is, I can say those ones are the ones who are expressing the experiences, maybe life experiences, where they have gone through a certain story. Those ones, they can tend to be long. But most of the poems are very short. But when I'm talking about long, unaweza kuwa unamaanisha nasema kama short story. Hapana. Longer, it can be maybe 1 page or rather 2 pages, but those ones always have some breakages. You're separating maybe the first part of your story to the second part, but in a poetic form. While when I'm looking at, we also have things like repetition. When I look at my poem, I might be repeating the first line, which may be the same as my topic. I might be repeating the last line. Compared to music, we always have a whole 4 lines that are repeated after every stanza. That is the chorus, right? Yes. So that is one in the structure. Yes.
Okay, so what is the importance of music in a poem? Or why do we have music? Because sometimes people are narrating the poem, then somewhere they just start singing.
When you're presenting a certain idea, when you're giving your opinion, it comes to a point where you're trying to emphasize. You want this person to actually understand. I remember you're talking about the serious group and the jokers, right? So there are those jokers who are like, this person is not serious when presenting this. So what are you going to do? We are going to relate a certain song to the actual message in that poem. So I'm going to emphasize. I'm bringing about some emphasis on the message that I'm presenting in my poem. Yes.
Yeah, that is very wonderful. So I want to give you an assignment. I want you to write a poem for Inspired Music Center. And then you need to present that poem here. We need to see how can you describe this place, Inspired Music Center, our studios, and whatever we do.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge to you. We hope to see it next time in our episodes. We want to just come and listen to you sing that poem?
I think I'm going to write it. I'm going to write a poem on inspired. Specifically, I have a whole maybe how many minutes? Maybe even 10 minutes
It's
of
okay.
specifically presenting.
Even 2 hours.
Unfortunately, 2 hours is a lot.
Yeah, it's okay.
For a poem. Yeah, I can do that and maybe search for a good costume so that you as my viewers can also love and wish to come to Inspired Music Center.
Yes.
Yes.
We will make sure you do it the best. We will give the best that we can so that it can come out very, very well. So thank you so much for being part of this episode. Thank you to our viewers, and keep subscribing, keep viewing. I think she will tell us her last words before we leave.
Thank you. I've been a poet, though you can also visit my YouTube channel and see some 2 or 3 points there that I've presented, and try to comment. Maybe I'll also add more poems. Yes.
The title of your channel.
Vianney K. Just go to YouTube, search for Vianney K. Vianney is
spell Vianney.
it is a very VIANNEY, then space and then capital K. Yes.
Thank you very much. So our viewers, go there, watch her poems and subscribe, support her. We are waiting for our poem, Inspired Music Center. Bye.